everyone, this is Dr. Iverson with a video about secondary dominants. We've encountered these in real music and also in our lecture, and we've not given them a very satisfactory explanation. Well, today is the day. We're going to put a face with a name, and it's going to be awesome. A quick review. What chords have a dominant function? If you answered 5/7 and 7/2 and fully diminished 7, you're right. So the question I want to ask today is, why are dominants so special? You may want to refer to your textbook on page 57 to review this next material. I can add a seventh to any triad in the major system, and I can come up with seventh chords of different qualities as a result. Major, major 7, minor, minor 7, minor, minor 7, major, major 7, major, minor 7, minor, minor 7, half diminished 7. Likewise, in the minor system, here are most common diatonic seventh chords, and here are the chord qualities that match with those Roman numerals. Now, what do you notice about the major minor 7 quality, or the dominant quality? Yes, it's only ever associated with the Roman numeral 5/7. The major minor 7 quality never occurs on another scale degree. It's also true of the fully diminished 7, and almost true of the half diminished 7. So whenever we find those dominant quality chords, they're very strongly associated with particular Roman numerals. They're inflexible and they're special. So here's a question. What happens if I have a dominant quality chord on a scale degree other than 5 or 7? This is when you are probably observing a secondary dominant, also called an applied chord. This is a dominant quality chord that is built on a different scale degree than usual, and therefore tonicizes or leads to a different place than 1. So just as a quick review, two main features of secondary dominants are that they have dominant quality, that is major minor 7th, half, or fully diminished 7. And secondly, a secondary dominant or an applied chord will resolve to its 1. A major minor 7th chord will resolve down by 5th, sol, do, like 5/7 to 1, but in a new key. A half or fully diminished 7th chord would resolve up by half step, ti, do, like 7 half diminished 7 or 7 fully diminished 7 to 1, but in a new key. Let's take a look at a musical example. I'm going to play a recording of Bob Dylan's Don't Think Twice, It's Alright from a 1965 bootleg. On this hearing, simply listen to the lyrics and process the jazz chords that I've given you.
Well, it ain't no use to sit down and wonder why, if you don't know by now. And it ain't no use to sit down and wonder why, babe. It don't matter anyhow. When your rooster crows at the break of dawn, look out your window and I'll be gone. You're the reason I'm a-traveling on, but don't think twice, it's all right.
All right, pause your video now and circle all of the jazz chords that have a dominant quality. Good, so we're back. You circled, hopefully, all of these guys. Capital letter name, and 7 means major minor 7, right? Okay, so we're going to listen again, and I'm going to go ahead and add Roman numerals for every chord that's a diatonic chord. Okay, every chord that I already know how to do the Roman numeral for. And you can do this along with me if you'd like. Let's listen again.
Well, it ain't no use to sit down and wonder why, babe. If you don't know by now. And it ain't no use to sit down and wonder why, babe. It don't matter anyhow. When your rooster crows at the break of dawn, look out your window and I'll be gone. You're the reason I'm a-traveling on, but don't think twice, it's all right.
Okay, so what are we going to do with those jazz chords that we circled that are dominant quality, but that aren't built on scale degree 5. I would sit, and you can pause your video now and try to figure out your solution, try to figure out your Roman numeral. I would suggest that the best answer for F sharp 7 is 5/7 of 5. That is, imagine that this passage of music is in B major. Okay, so if B is the tonic, scale degree 5 is F sharp. All right, so an F sharp dominant 7th, right, relates to B as its tonic, right? Or a 5/7 of 5 if we're then thinking in the home key of E. The correct Roman numeral for E7 would be 5/7 of 4. That's right, if you got it right. Thinking of this passage of music as briefly tonicizing A major. So pretend for a second that A is the tonic. Count up to scale degree 5. It's E. An E dominant 7th chord relates to A as the tonic, right? 5/7 of A or 5/7 of 4 within the global tonic of E. What would be the right Roman numeral for F sharp 7 at the end of this third line of the verse? It's also a 5/7 of 5, and it should, in quotation marks, should relate to B or 5. This one happens to be unresolved, so it doesn't have its chord of resolution. We instead go right on to the repetition of tonic at the beginning of the 4th line of the verse. Should we listen once more? Let's do it.
Well, it ain't no use to sit and wonder why, if you don't know by now. And it ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. It don't matter anyhow. When your rooster crows at the break of dawn, look out your window and I'll be gone. You're the reason I'm a-traveling on, but don't think twice, it's alright.
I know I keep going on about quality, and I'm going to keep going on about quality. It's pretty important. An E major triad, E, G sharp, B, that's a tonic chord, right? If I add a diatonic 7th, I add a D sharp. That's a major 7th chord, and its Roman numeral could be 1/7. If I add a D natural, E, G sharp, B, D, suddenly this becomes a major 7th chord. It becomes a 5/7 of A, or a 5/7 of 4. Importantly, this chord is not a tonic. It's the dominant of A. Right? So the addition of that minor 7th to make a major 7th quality is a very big alteration, and it turns a normal triad into a dominant. It's a very strong move. If you remember nothing else from this video, please remember this. If it's dominant quality, then it deserves a dominant Roman numeral. Quick point, there are 2 ways to note secondary dominance. You see that progression we've been talking about, E7 to A here. One way is to use a slash, 5/7 of 4 going to 4 is how we would read it. Another is to use an arrow. So the arrow replaces the slash, and you would read it the same way, 5/7 of 4 going to 4, or 5/7 leading to 4, 5/7 of 4. Okay, so it's a little cleaner notation. You can use either one, recognize that they say the same thing, use whichever one you like. Please read your textbook, chapter 26, and bring your workbook to class on Tuesday. Have a great weekend.